Hello and welcome to this special edition of Agenda from Bengaluru. Tipu Sultan, a man born near the city in the 1700s, dying in 1799. Now, why is this man, more than 2 centuries after his death, still making headlines? Well, the Congress government in Karnataka is celebrating his birth anniversary on November 10th, although that date is also in dispute. Celebrating that birth anniversary, they did this last year as well. There was violence, 2 people died, but the Congress is going ahead with this. Now, to discuss this entire issue, which has become a controversy in the state, and also to discuss who was Tipu Sultan, a good man, a bad man, or somewhere in between, we're joined by politicians, academicians, people from society on both sides of what is becoming a very deep divide. To start with, the Congress working president, Dinesh Gundurao. The first question, why suddenly last year and this year is the Congress state government celebrating Tipu Jayanti?
See, Tipu Jayanti was always celebrated by many organizations, by many people even before, and even I've attended many Tipu Jayanti functions in my political career. So he is one of our great kings, who is a national figure, iconic person, who fought 4 wars against the British, who has done exemplary work in many fields, introduced sericulture, introduced new technologies, missile technologies, all kinds of things. From Karnataka, there are very few people whom we really read about in history books. We read about Rani Lakshmibai, we read about Tipu Sultan. These are our great people whom we read about in our history books from Karnataka.
But celebrating it privately, like you said, you've attended many functions, but celebrating it privately and making it a state celebration, that's a big, very different thing.
See, when we recognize a national figure from our state, like Maharashtra, they celebrate Shivaji, Chhatrapati Shivaji, because he fought against the Mughals and whatever, he stood up for Maratha pride. Here, this person fought against the British, and he did many good things. Even for Bengaluru also, he's done many good things. Every ruler has got pluses and minuses, and during those times, maybe some things may have gone wrong in terms of ruling. Even today, if we talk about Modi, we are a divided country. If we talk about Mrs. Indira Gandhi, we are a divided country. So let's not get into what each one did on every issue. But overall, if you see, he was, we call him the Tiger of Mysore. That's his name. So.
But the feeling is, I think, among many people, that the Tiger of Mysore is being celebrated by the state government as a means of catching votes just ahead of assembly elections.
No, see, that is ridiculous. I'll tell you, today the BJP is doing that politics. For us, there's no need to celebrate Tipu Jayanti to get the minority votes. That is, hardly a requirement for us. He was a person, he was an icon. But I think for the BJP, it's the other way around. They want to polarize the votes on these lines and make this into a big issue, trying to communalize the whole situation just because he was a Muslim king.
Now, Tejasvi Surya of the BJP, General Secretary, the Congress saying that you are the ones doing the politicization, that the BJP is making it a political issue for the vote.
Who started the Tipu Jayanti in the first place? It's not us who started this. It's because they started celebrating and commemorating Tipu Jayanti. It was but natural that as a reaction of what people are sporadically and naturally protesting against this, and these are not orchestrated protests. People in Chitradurga, the Nayaka community in Chitradurga, they have been treacherously, their king, Madhukari Nayaka, was treacherously killed by Tipu's father, Hyder Ali. They have a long-standing grouse. People in Coorg, the Kodavas, have been ruthlessly massacred by Tipu, and they have a natural grouse. So people naturally came on the streets and started protesting. It's a small section of people who are trying to misguide history by rewriting and negating the real historical facts and trying to project him as the Tiger of Mysore, where in reality he was the tyrant of Mysore. So,
Tiger of Mysore, tyrant of Mysore. Who was Tipu Sultan now? Aga Sultan, you're an educationist and a social worker here in Bengaluru. Do you agree with that assessment of Tipu Sultan?
I totally disagree with my friend from the BJP. I would like to say one thing. Tipu Sultan was the best example of coexistence between Hindus and Muslims.
You agree with that?
Tipu Sultan has destroyed 8,000 Hindu temples. If that is an example of communal harmony, then I think then I'm at loss of words.
You know his palace in Srirangpatna? Okay, this is a famous Ranganatha temple. There are 2 other temples there, even in Bangalore. His palace has a temple, number 1. Number 2, the number of the grants that he has given during his tenure to the temples is much more to what he did to the Muslim masjids. Record speaks. Number 3, the amount of land that he has given free to the temples is so much an extent that is unimaginable. Number 4, his army was full of Hindus. Okay, and in a war, whichever war is bad. In a war, when things happen, the king doesn't see the Muslim, Christian, Sikh or Isai, it is just that expansion of a territory. Number 6, he was the first person to have raised the revolt against the Britishers.
Giridhar Upadhyaya, you're president of Mantana, but also a member of the RSS. Now, a freedom fighter.
Some of those people who were brutal against the people of this country, who converted thousands of people, are considered as freedom fighter, and Tipu Sultan is one among them. He was a religious bigot, and his only intention was fighting for Islam rather than fighting for the freedom of the country. If we had to throw out a foreign power from this country, why he had to take a help of another foreign power? We all know that he wrote a letter to Napoleon saying that if we win together India, we will be sharing, one part of India will be shared. And a real freedom fighter who really fights for the freedom of the country will never do that.
Now, we really seem to be talking about two totally different people. Now, we have people who have studied history here. We have Vikram Sampath, writer and historian. We have Professor Chandan Gowda, also a historian, a sociologist at the Azim Premji University, but also you studied Old Mysore in particular, and also you're fascinated by literature. And Professor N.V. Narasimhaya, social activist and also formerly with the Backward Classes Commission. I'll come to you first, sir. These are two different men who are being described here.
It is totally fabricated, painting in black colors just because he belongs to a particular religion. We can't look at this man from that prison.
It's very ironic, Maya. We are standing next to the Indian flag. Now, in 1947, we turned our backs on the princely states of India and adopted a democratic republic government for ourselves. There was a reason for that. That these kings and queens of the past, they may be great, but then we chose a path for our country and for our people which was different from that. It was democracy. And so we can go back as far in the past. Why not celebrate the Shatavahanas? Why not the Rashtrakutas? Why not Kittur Rani Channamma? Why not someone else? So there is no end to this. And as you rightly pointed out, private groups or a Tipu Sultan fan club doing something is perfectly fine. I mean, there can be as many number of plays and, commemorations of his birth and death anniversaries, but the state government using taxpayers' money to do something like this when actually a lot of people have genuine opposition. It's ironic that this issue has united the Syrian Christians in Mangalore, the RSS, and the Kodavas, the Malayalis in Kerala, who still consider him as quite a hated figure. Freedom fight and all that meant nothing in the time Tipu lived because there was no concept of India then. I mean,
so the big issue, he's often described as India's first freedom fighter. You don't agree with that definition?
If he could take a French help to, which was as colonial, it took us longer time to get Pondicherry out of French rule than the rest of India.
Dr. Gowda, history, politics certainly overlapping hugely in this particular case.
So in this discussion, I think we need to disentangle two things. Whether you want to commemorate him or not is a separate question. Then the question of how you remember him.
Yes.
How you remember him is a difficult task because he's from 250 years ago. But that he's a multi-dimensional, fascinating figure, nobody can deny. All along, we have remembered him for his heroism. The last 2 decades, then we come to hear other stories about him. It becomes convenient to highlight a few things about him. Fabrication may be there, false memories could be created. And even when memories are real, let's say he talked about the hatred of the Kodavas and the Christians of Mangalore, you can't just view that as he hurt them and they remember him negatively. Why did he hurt them? He saw them as colluding with the British.
Marathas plundered Sringeri Mutt in Chikmagalur. Didn't they do that? And who came to the rescue of the pontiff at that time? It is Tipu. And who gave that Sharda deity on sandalwood? It is him. He protected it.
He was a politician. He was not a saint. So like all of them, he would also, real politics is what would, influence him. So after
Tipu Sultan, the politician.
I agree with Vikram to that extent that he was a politician. Today we are doing politics, we want to win our elections, and so we propagate our own theories. But regarding him being the first freedom fighter, or him being a freedom fighter at all, Now then we should not consider Lakshmi Bai as a freedom fighter. We should not consider Kirti. I'm not saying as a freedom fighter. Some people may say he's a freedom fighter. But those were different eras. When Rani of Jhansi fought against the British, when Lakshmi Bai fought against the British, when Kittur Rani Chennamma fought against... We celebrate Sangoli Rayan's birth anniversary every year. So we consider him in some way a person who stood up against the foreign invaders. How many kings really stood up against the British?
Most kings settled for a compromise.
Okay.
He died fighting in the
Like
war.
Gaudias,
That,
like maybe like
that has to
Gaudias,
be
yes.
remembered. Yeah.
At the time of independence, there were 543 local rulers. Among these 543 local rulers, Lord Cornwallis and Wellesley. Lord Cornwallis, who fought against Tipu in Third Anglo-Mysore War. Wellesley and Nizam and Marathas, plus forces from Madras, forces from Bombay, all of them combined together to defeat a single ruler of 543. There was one hero in this country who fought against the Britishers, who laid down his life. They introduced Subsidiary Alliance Treaty. According to Subsidiary Alliance Treaty, if you accept the Britishers are the prime rulers, you would have continued even today. Like other states. But Tipu never asked for any pension. Those in 543 people who got integrated after independence, they are getting pension, but not Tipu family. Tipu family are living like beggars in Calcutta. But there is no other example like Tipu, who had so much patriotism and tolerance. No other ruler had so much tolerance.
I'm not advocating because he's a Muslim and I'm a Muslim. I believe a casteless society. India has got diverse culture. I appeal to everybody not to divide the human beings on this Jayanti lines. Tipu was a freedom fighter. We should be proud that Karnataka gave birth to such a leader and is buried here. This should have been done much earlier.
The Kannada and Cultural Department celebrating Tipu's Jayanti, he hated Kannada and he brought Farsi as the administrative language. And even today, Muslims in Kerala speak Malayalam and the Muslims in Tamil Nadu speak Tamil, but the Muslims in Karnataka, they speak Urdu or Farsi language, or Urdu as such. That he had hate towards the language also.